Hey, how's it going? So, you're looking for something creepy, something horrific, terrifying, a story, a real story. Well, I don't have many, but I have one in particular that I would love to share to anybody that is into that kind of thing. I get it. I get it, man. Like we like spiritual stuff at times. We like horror. We watch movies and stuff like that, but finding something that is real is hard to come by. And when you find it, you question yourself. Yes, I did. So, I'm going to give you my story. I'm 31. I have never had an experience like this before or after. One time. One time. Of course, I've psyched myself up before and got my anxiety going and thought maybe something paranormal was happening, but I don't think so. Just one time, I'm sure something happened. So, with that said, a little backstory about me. I'm a goofy guy, and I like hanging out with my friends. I like playing video games. I like reading books. I like going out. I like working out. I like martial arts. Um, I love horror. I love horror. I love all kinds of movies and stuff like that. I'm pretty much just telling you, I'm probably a lot like you. I'm nobody special. I don't have any abilities or anything like that. I'm not psychic. I'm just a guy. A guy that one night did interact with something that was abnormal, to say the least. So, without further ado, I was under a lot of stress when I was 19. A lot of things were going on, and I wasn't feeling like myself. I wasn't sleeping that much. I wasn't eating well, and I had a lot on my mind. I mean, being 19, that's it's pretty typical, right? You know, for the longest time, I always wanted something paranormal to happen to me when I was 19. After this, no, I stay away from that. It was a it was a situation that is in parts. I think it's all connected. I was in Florida visiting family, and one of my cousins was really into, at the time, spiritual things, including a Ouija board. Now, before you get all, oh my god, you shouldn't have touched it, like, let me just say this. I didn't want anything to do with it. The thing about me is that I don't necessarily want to touch a Ouija board, nor did I, nor was I ever close to it. I'll explain. I was seeing my cousin, hang out with my aunt and uncle, and my other two cousins. And just for the record, they're amazing, amazing people. This was so long ago, and no one really knew about it besides my cousin who initiated it. She had a few friends over, and at the time, I was antisocial. I didn't really like talking to people. And even though I was close to my cousin, my social anxiety kicked in right away every time I saw her because it was really rare that I would hang out with her because she was so far away. And so it was like 3 years goes by and then I see my cousin again. So I always got nervous around her, even though I would text her sometimes or Facebook message her. It's just different for me at the time. I grew as a person. I'm not like that anymore, but I'm just putting that out there because I wasn't really talking to anybody. My grandmother told me, go hang out with your cousin, go socialize. And I wanted to tell her, in a way, what we were going to do and how I was hesitant, but I just shrugged it off and nothing's going to happen. My cousin, she made a paper Ouija board. So I don't know about the rules about Ouija boards or anything like that, but I would imagine the real thing is a lot different than something you would craft yourself with paper. And I mean paper. Maybe a pen. And another piece of paper, the little triangle thing with the circle on it. They made that too. I was gonna say we, but I didn't make this. So she wanted to go to a graveyard that was maybe 6 minutes away from the neighborhood. And so they went off, her and her friends, and I followed. And I was resentful in the moment because I was like, personally for me, nothing against my cousin, but for me, I don't want to mess with people that passed away. That's someone's family. That's someone's daughter or son or mom or dad or sister or brother. You know the deal. And here we are. And I'm about maybe, I would say, at least 20 feet away. They're at a tree and they're sitting down near the graves and they're asking questions. And I don't remember the questions. It must have been like some typical question you would ask when you start a Ouija board thing. But from what I remember, they were moving the paper, but I don't think like a spiritual being, an entity, anything like that was moving it. I think they even acknowledged that they felt something, but in the end, I don't think anything really happened. And I think that's what we all agreed on. And so I would say we were there for a good 10, 15 minutes. And you know how teenagers are. She's a little younger than me, by the way. At the time, she was probably maybe 16, and I was, like I said, 19. So, attention span and all that stuff. Want to move on. I got my friends with me. I'm sure that's how she was thinking. And so we ended up coming back. Her friends leave, and her and I had a good night. We catched up, and I told her about everything that was going on in my life. And I felt like I was finally breaking through the anxiety that I always used to get. And I went to bed. Nothing happened that night. And I didn't plan on anything happening at all. But the second night, see, they lived in a decent sized house, and there was a new section that they had built, which basically was like a game room and a guest room, and it was connected to a in-ground pool, and it was screened in so mosquitoes didn't get to you, but you still got the fresh air and all that. That section, of course, wasn't really occupied at all at night, but that's where I was, in the guest room. If I could give you an image, you would walk into the family room and open a door, and there's this section I'm talking about, and it's a big game room. On the left, you have windows that lead to outside to the underground pool, and then you had the TV like facing you, and then this hallway. And the hallway had one bathroom on the left, and at the very back was the room. And the room had a treadmill and an air mattress at the time for me. And I did, feel kind of weird that I was like cut off from everybody else in the house. But at the same time, I liked my privacy, and I didn't mind that I had an original Xbox at the time with Half-Life, like I had some games I could play if I can't sleep. Had a bathroom, could get water if I want, take a shower, whatever. Maybe dip my feet in the pool. So at the time I was smoking and, cigarettes, and I still do off and on, but I went out there to smoke often at night. It helped me calm down, very anxious, like I said, even though I was getting used to hanging out with everybody and socializing. Being away from home, I'm agoraphobic and I don't like being away from home. It's hard. So it helped me sleep. And when I came back, I kept hearing like noises, the house settling, maybe the section of the building settling. But what was weird is it was in the hallway. So I'm in the guest room and I hear these like noises on the tile. It was all tile. And it was like footsteps, like somebody kind of like walking around a little bit, the typical like it's probably, the house settling kind of noise. But that was it. That was it. I just went to bed, woke up the next day, and this was my final day there before I had to leave the next morning. Everything was fine. Um, I spent some time watching Ghost Adventures in the game room though, with my cousin on these two big bean bags. It was really, really comfy, and like I said, my cousin was really into this stuff, and we were watching quite a few episodes in this. And I'm just not realizing maybe that had a part in what happened later. When you maybe this is an assumption. I'm not an expert here, but maybe if you show interest, maybe something will come. I remember, watching Paranormal Activity, years before, I guess. I don't know. I think I was 17 when that came out, maybe 16. But I remember, they were kind of talking about how, like, if you show interest, if you talk to it, antagonize an entity, that maybe it will start getting strength, all that stuff. Negativity, negativity, negative energy, whatever you want to call it, also kind of strengthens entities. And I want to point this out too. Like I don't know about all of that. I don't. I'm just kind of pulling like what I know right now and kind of just like putting it together in front of you, because in the end I still don't know exactly what happened to me that night. And then months later, this part's really hard for me to talk about. Actually, the whole thing is like the part I've shared so far, easy. This part I don't like. So let's skip ahead. Let's go to the night. Of course, nighttime. I would say it was probably like 12 a.m., 12:30, and I went outside to have a cigarette. And I don't think anybody knew I smoked. Maybe my aunt did. I know my grandma did. She told me it was okay, but I'm not sure my uncle knew. It's a bad habit. And I say that in case they see this. I know my younger cousin follows me on here. Um, and for the record, I think whatever happened this night followed me and then dissipated, because I didn't hear anything from my cousins about anything of what I went through. They've never shared anything. I wonder if they did at all. But I was outside smoking a cigarette. I tell you, man, it was a full moon. So if you go past the pool, there's a door that leads out into the backyard. I think maybe there's a swing set. I don't know. But I remember there was a neighbor's backyard that was fenced. And so I have a fence to my left and all grass all the way leading to the front of the house to the driveway. And I was having my back. Sorry, I was having my back like facing the fence. So I was looking the opposite direction and I was a couple feet away from it. I would say about, again, like maybe 15, 20 feet. And smoking, and I heard something walking towards me, and I could see that there was nothing there. Nothing there. And this, with the negative energy that I was experiencing, I mean, I had a bunch of anxiety and stuff. Just want to put that out there too. I think that's what was pulling me, right? Pulling me towards whatever this was. But it was walking towards me, and the grass was wet. It was, 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. The grass was wet. I don't know if it was sprinklers or dew already, but it got closer very slowly. So it was like splat, splat, and stopped. And that's when I started immediately shaking and realizing is there something in front of me. And I'm looking, and I don't see anything. The full moon is bright. I can see everything in front of me. Nothing there. In my head, I was thinking, is it a rabbit? Is it an alligator? Like I was getting nervous. But then it splat, splat again. And I look. And then I noticed that the splat, when it was happening a third time this time, it was like walking. It wasn't stopping, it was walking. And I would say it took about 6 feet. And now it feels like it's about 8 feet away from me. And for the longest moment, I was froze. Like, I freezed. I didn't know what I was experiencing. And in the back of my head, I started thinking about the Ouija board. And I go, oh no. And then I started thinking about the hallway, the steps. This sounded a little similar to this. And before I could even make a move, it sprints at me. Splat, 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 splat. Stops right in front of me. I mean, like this close. And I drop my cigarette. And I back up, and I hit the fence. And I'm shaking. Splat, splat, splat. It stops, yet again, right in front of me. Said, nope. And I, without wanting to, I went and picked up the cigarette, put it out, and I was shaking. My hands were like shaking, trying to put it in the carton, or in the little whatever. And I went inside, and at this point, tears rolling down my face. Because all of a sudden, I had the heaviest depression and a need for someone to hold me. Anxiety was gone. I just felt sad. And I sat there for quite some time, guys. I mean, man, I was questioning what to do. I didn't want to risk anything by just staying in the guest room. So what I did was I went to wake up my cousin. But when I got to her, I had to like creep through the house and go through the family room, go up these set of stairs, and they were long stairs, and I was trying to be as quiet as possible because I didn't want to wake up my aunt or uncle or anything like that. I was a mess. I didn't want anyone to see me. And I go to my cousin. I wake her up. I felt like at least I have my cousin to talk to because she believes in this stuff. I don't know about anybody else. And I didn't bring up the Ouija board, but I did tell her what happened literally outside that night. And I just couldn't stop crying. And it was really embarrassing, by the way. Not a big crier. And she just kind of like pulled my head close and just told me it's okay, and I started to vent about like this feeling I had, and I was sad and I was anxious and stressed out. And so we came to the conclusion that she had a friend over, by the way, who was sleeping on the bed. So we were trying to be quiet, and I decided to just try to go back to sleep. But she had a big room, and I went near the hallway that led to the bathroom. She had like a area where the mirror was, and the shower and stuff was over there. I laid around that area, and I couldn't sleep. I just waited until it was time to get up. I think maybe I slept. If I did, it was like maybe an hour. The sun came up and the depression and stuff was still there. I just packed my stuff and we drove home. And it took a long time to get home. Hours and hours and hours and hours. And that was it for that, experience. It was over. I felt safe. I felt like everything was okay. And I kept going about my life. I ended up hanging out with my buddies, did things, and it was long gone in my mind. I wasn't thinking about it at all. Every now and then when I was alone in my room, that was the only time, if I did, that would be the only time I thought about it once in a while. But nothing bothered me for a very long time. I would say this happened, with the whole, in Florida, the Ouija board being there for 3 nights. This happened when it was cold out in Florida. I don't know exactly what time. Maybe it was like Christmas break, something that we have for school at the time. And I remember it was like warm outside when the middle chapter of the story took place. So this one is going to be the hardest to talk about. So I was staying at my grandparents' house. It was something I did. I would just hang out with them all day and maybe had a friend over, and they had an upstairs that was like a big room and a bathroom and a walk-in closet with another bed. I mean, there were 3 beds up there. It was big. And there was an attic and stuff like that. Walk-in attic. We used to call it what is it called? That book about the Lion, the Witch, and the Narnia. Called it the Narnia. My friends and I were talking about how big that place, the attic was and stuff like that. And I remember that night we were kind of getting creeped out about the attic because, I mean, it was a door that would open, like you could open it, and it was just kind of like so dark in there and creepy, and no one occupied it. It was just filled with stuff. And I remember my buddy Zero was staying the night with me. We were up late though, and I think his mom wanted him to go do something with him that morning. So I had trouble falling asleep that night, and I never did. And he got up and left, and I was like, man, I'm still awake. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. And one thing about my grandparents upstairs is that at the time there were no curtains to cover the sunlight. So when the sunlight hits you, it's literally hitting you in the center of the sky, just shining through. So it was bright. There was nothing to create a shadow figure. But there was one. And I want you guys to know right off the bat, I've been seeing a therapist and, a psychiatrist, stuff like that. Never hallucinated before. Never have until recently, coming off a medication. That caused some weird things going on, but that was like literally like a few months ago. Before a few months ago, nothing before, nothing after. So I was never diagnosed with like schizophrenia or anything like that. But I get in the bed, and this room, like I said, it's like a master room basically, with a bathroom and a shower and stuff like that. And when I was laying in the bed, I had a ceiling fan I could look at. I had two windows on the left and really nice furniture and stuff like that, and just pictures of the family and stuff. And by my feet was just carpet and a rug, and a little further, a couple steps further, was a water bed, and then to my right was the door to the attic, and on the right wall was the bathroom, and I had a TV too near the bed, and I had a closet next to me as well, a walk-in closet. And I'm laying there and I'm looking around, and I'm trying to, you know, get comfortable, and I felt so restless. I just felt weird, and I was starting to feel a little anxious again. But it wasn't like what I felt at my cousin's house. It was more of like, man, I just got to get some sleep. I got to get up when Zero comes back, and I don't even think I even told him about this. I recently did a video on this story. I just don't feel like it did justice. I was on a tight time frame. This is like the legit story. So I'm laying there, and I opened my eyes, and I was looking at the ceiling fan, and I was just like, something is not right. Something is definitely not okay. And I had this, like, how like you're like looking at something on the ceiling, but you can kind of still see what's around you a little bit. I saw just the tiniest speck of black, white where my nose was. I was staring at the ceiling. I could just see something kind of moving. I look at my feet, and there was a shadow figure, pure black, and the edges were moving. It was almost like a black flame, but very subtle. The best way to explain it would be, when you look at it, it was almost like electrical. And I'm staring at it, and I'm not making a sound. And like in my head, I start thinking again of like Florida, that moment. And I was like, okay, whoa, okay. Maybe I'm just like really tired. Was I up for 24 hours at this point? No. Right? I closed my eyes. I put my head back, and it was almost like I was a child. I just wanted to make it go away. Thought maybe it was me. And I opened my eyes, and I looked down, and I noticed something on my right, but I was too focused on what was by my feet, and I looked by my feet, and it was gone. But then I was like, but the thing on my right, what is this? And I noticed it was black. And I lay down. I don't know why I did it like this, but I lay down, and I looked. I think I was ready to go under my blanket. I think that's literally what I wanted to do, was go under my blanket. Anyway, the damn thing is standing right there. It was probably as tall as, like, well, I would say like 4.5 feet. And sorry, it's hard. It's hard. Um, all I could do was stare at it. I couldn't move. And To this day, I wonder if it was sleep paralysis, but this part makes me think it wasn't. Um, so I'm laying on this bed, and it's there. And by the way, it's only been like maybe 2.5 seconds, 3 seconds, maybe, before it moves. It stretches itself above me. So I'm laying on my bed, right? I'm laying on my bed. And it stretches, and I can't move, but I'm seeing it. And then does this, and it goes into my stomach. And it was quick. It was quick. And the black, whatever this thing was, this dark black entity, shadow figure, I could see a current of black just streaming. And it was still connected to the ground, but it was going in my stomach. It was like it made a bridge from the ground onto me and going through my stomach. And my stomach and my entire body felt like I was being electrocuted. I mean, it felt like my bones were being crushed. And I couldn't do anything. And the next thing I know, it was gone, and I was still feeling that crushing feeling, and I was awake. And I get up, and I had the weirdest pain in my core. And I knew then that's not normal. I could feel it in my neck, my shoulders. And I was like, I'm going back home. I didn't feel anything. I felt nothing. It was like all I could think about was get my stuff, go home. Get my stuff, go home. And years went by. Nothing. But every single night, I would lay in my own bed, and I would be petrified to look to my right. To look at my feet. So this all took place in 2011, 2012. I think it was 2014. My final bout, whatever this was, occurred. Something about me that I want to share is I had a few friends that talked about astral projection, and I didn't know if it was real or not, but I would try, because they would tell me these spiritual adventures they had of like gliding through the clouds and going to places. And there was like this Facebook group that I wasn't part of, but I ended up seeing through my Zero's messenger thing, I guess. I don't know where I saw this, but I think it was on his account, because he left his Facebook account on my computer one night. And I was like, what is this? And I realized I was on his account. I'm like, oh, okay. And I kind of read a little bit of it and then closed out, because I was like, they probably don't want me to read this. But I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be cool like them. And I would try once in a while. And I remember I got really close to this YouTube channel. I don't know what channel it was, but I was watching it often. It was like this monk, and he would talk about how he would astral project, and he would say, and please don't do this, but he said that if you ever have been on a hammock and you're swinging, if you know that feeling and you're familiar with that, you can almost make that happen in your head. And so like I would lay on my bed, and hope tonight I'm gonna astral project. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it would never come, but I would get closer and closer to this, like, journey I guess I was on. And then, one night I saw the hammock video, and I was practicing that for a few nights, maybe 3 nights. I don't know, but to no avail. But the fact that I was practicing, I think, has something to do with what happened. This is the final part, and this is crazy. Um, I took a really hot bath that night. Really hot bath. I loved just getting into a hot tub and soaking my muscles. And I like to get to the point where I'm so hot I have to get out. Because when I get out and I sit down, I am just like nothing running through my mind. It's the most calming feeling. If you ever got into like a sauna or steam room and get out and you sit down and kind of cool off, you have nothing going on in your mind. You're just kind of taking in the cool air, and it's like, in a weird way, it like rejuvenates you. And I would do that often. But this night I got out and I dried off and I lay down. And I was in the guest room in my house this time. And I was laying there and I was waiting for my friend to Skype me. And she was really busy that night, so she never did. But I was waiting with the iPad by my feet. It was a big bed. It had things on it and stuff. But I was just laying on the edge of the bed. And I was so close to the bed. I mean, so close to the edge of the bed that if I moved over, I would fall. Um, Now, I don't know what this was, but I started feeling the hammock. I was just kind of exhausted from the bath, and I was just not really trying, but all of a sudden, I'm on the ground in the guest room. And I can't move. And here we go again. A shadow figure. See, because I just got out of the bathroom, I had the light on, but the guest room door shut. So the door was shut, but the bathroom light was shining through because the bathroom was right across the guest room. And it's a bright light. I always turn it off when I'm going to bed. I wasn't planning on going to bed, but I'm on the ground and I can't move my head. I am stuck laying on my side on the ground. And I feel so small. Like, I couldn't feel my arms or my legs, but my vision was there and I was looking at the room. It's a nice room, but the light is shining and there's this black shadow figure. Thin. Way taller than the first one I mentioned. But it started to widen. And the light started being covered. And the door started to become this black shadow. And I realized it was just getting bigger and bigger. And you know what? I don't know what happened here, but something in my mind told me that I'm not in my body and something's about to get in the body. And I think it's because I watched the movie Insidious years before this. I remember the little boy in the movie. If you're not familiar, there's a boy that basically accidentally astral projected, and he had a talent, and he did that. It's all fictional, but I was thinking about that. And I said, oh no, what do I do? in my mind. I couldn't speak, but I had the thought. And it was about maybe 7 or 8 seconds of this. Everything I just mentioned happened really fast. Usually does. And I felt my body, or me, I guess. I don't know what was going on, but I had this like feeling of being lifted and put back. And I don't think it was a shadow figure. Without really bringing religion into it, I feel like maybe it was like a guardian angel or God or something. That's all I'll say. But as soon as I was like, I saw myself get lifted and put back in my body, if this is what happened, and I got up and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna pray. And I prayed and I said, God, put a force field around me. I promise I won't touch any of this stuff again, act any of this stuff out. I won't do all the things about astral projecting, and I'll stay away from Ouija boards and all this stuff. Like, just promise me that you'll do your part and protect me. And I visualized like a blue orb around me. Basically, I just meditated on that for a little bit. I mean, my survival instincts kicked in, and this is what my brain told me to do. So I did it. Never a problem after that. Not one damn problem. It's 2023 now. And besides coming off some medication, which, to be frank, was nothing compared to what I experienced back then. That was just typical medication and too much dopamine and serotonin rushing through my mind, my brain, because I was taking something to kind of slow that stuff down. But getting off it, it's like a shotgun that shoots through your head, and you have all this stuff going on, and you might hallucinate. But that's it. That's it, man. That's my story. So, I've told a lot of people about this story. People that like want to hear something spooky and stuff like that. I get it. I get it. The only thing I would tell you is don't try to look for this stuff. Don't try. You might be like me and be powerless. And I don't want you to feel that. I don't want you to feel the depression or the feeling of being powerless or in this constant state of fear when you lay in your own bed. It's your safe space, and you deserve to feel that way. And somewhere down the line, with that Ouija board, a lot of things happen. Never touched it again. If people were trying to mess around with that stuff, I would just focus on that shield that I created in my mind. I was always safe. I've gone to haunted places before, but nothing. And a lot of people wanted things to happen, but I will say this. I think I'm sensitive to stuff like this. I said I wasn't special, but just talking about this again, I can't deny that there's some sensitivity here. But I still feel like I'm a pretty normal person. And I'm still clueless to exactly what happened. There's a lot of days when I think about this, especially around this time of year, where I wonder if it was sleep paralysis or was it really something spiritual, paranormal. I can't tell you how many times I've watched like back in the teens of, the 10s, the 10s, 11, 12, 13, whatever. There were a lot of like Twitch channels that would go on ghost adventures, and I think people probably still do that, but it's always a hoax usually. I mean, I haven't found any, and I have a friend of mine that her job was to debunk it, you know? But I'll say this and then I'm going to end the video. I wish I can debunk it. I can't. It's the pain that I felt that makes it difficult. In the situation, the circumstances. So, again, if you like this story, this is the only one I have. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know if you've ever had experiences like this. I know it's hard for people that have experienced this. It's really hard to talk to people about it. And not in the way you think. Like, yeah, there's people that don't believe me, or they will even went to a priest about it. He said, my mind manifested this because of the feelings I was feeling all the time. But and he was a licensed psychiatrist as well, not just a priest. I saw him a couple of years ago, but because it always bothered me. I would say about 2 years ago in 2020, I talked to a priest about it. But I was very quick about it. I didn't really want to get into detail like I did with you today. The guy had a lot of things he had to get done that day. But I don't know. I would tell other friends and they would say, "Man, that's so cool." I don't think it's cool. Not for me. For you, yeah, I get that. For me though, I think it was something that just kind of took a part of me. When it went in my stomach, whatever that was, I felt like part of me was taken. The closest thing I could explain was I felt pain in my soul. So, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. With that said, like I said, leave a comment if you have any stories. If you have any ideas what happened, that would be cool too. So, anyway, you take care. I hope I did my job today. All of it was legit, by the way. I didn't exaggerate anything. That was to a T. It's so easy to like add things to stuff, but in my case, I don't need to. I don't think so. Later. See ya.